No Burns supper is complete without at least some mention of the bard and a suitable toast to him. And I'm sure we're in safe hands with Willie Miller. So I'll call on our secretary to give the immortal memory. Could you all please make sure your mics are muted? Here we go. Willie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Kevin. Well, gentlemen, as Kevin says, it was a short notice thing. So I've got to start by saying last week I watched the Zoom meeting at the Turboughton Jolly Beggars that was hosted by Cammy. And I watched Kirstine McCall deliver an amazingly insightful immortal memory of Robert Burns. Kirstine had obviously drawn on her late father's knowledge and her own research into the life and times of the bard. And she delivered such a delightful presentation it made 45 minutes seem like 5. So I've got to apologise in advance if my presentation makes 5 seem like 45. You'll just have to bear with me. My intention is to give a far more humble attempt than Kirstine to give tribute to an amazing genius of a man by putting into simple language what I know and, more importantly, how I feel about Robert Burns. A wee bit background, obviously, to start with. Robert was born in Alloway near Ayr on 25th of January 1759, and his father William was a gardener to the Provost of Ayr, and he was passionate about education. So, when in 1766 the family worked Mount Oliphant Farm, Robert was educated at John Murdoch's school in Alloway, and later in Ayr, until financial worries forced him to give up education and work back as a farm labourer. And it was while he was thus occupied that he met his first love, Nellie Kilpatrick. She inspired him at the age of 15 to try his hand at poetry. And it was a song entitled "Oh, Once I Loved a Bonny Lass," set to the tune of a traditional reel which Nellie often sang when she worked. It goes, "Oh, once I loved a bonny lass, and I love her still, and while that virtue warms my breast, I'll love my handsome Nell. As bonny lasses I have seen, and mony full as braw, but for a modest, grateful mien, the like I never saw. A bonny lass, I will confess, is pleasant to the ee, but without some better qualities, she's no the lass for me. But Nellie's looks are blithe and sweet, and what is best of all, her reputation is complete, and fair without a flaw." No bad for a 15-year-old laddie to write. There's no doubt that Burns was a literary genius, no matter how poor a farmer he turned out to be. In 1777 the family left Alloway and moved to Lochleigh Farm, 2.5 miles northwest of Mauchline. And it was here that Burns wrote some of the poems and songs that would appear in his book, the poems chiefly in the Scottish dialect, his first book of poems. He had a miraculous power to create immortal beauty out of the world around him, and it stirred a widespread devotion that grows wider and more intense as the years grow. I doubt there's any part of the world where his works are not read, recited or sung. But Burns himself was a tragic figure. A man's aims and achievements can be thrown off course by life's circumstances, and Burns really understood that when he wrote "The best laid schemes of mice and men gang after lie." Robert Burns didn't have an easy passage through life, and grinding poverty in his teens and suffering threats of bankruptcy and jail at times, being bullied by a tyrannical factor, this was his lot in life, while in his mind he was a proud, independent, competent, efficient man determined to improve his lot. In the nearby village of Tarbolton, Robert and his friends David Siller and John Rankin of Adam Hill founded, on the 11th of November 1780, the Tarbolton Bachelors' Club, a debating club of a kind popular at the time. Burns was elected chairman. Membership was not to exceed 16 people, and one of the prerequisites of membership was that the applicant should be a professed lover of one or more of the female sex. By this time Rob was well qualified. The Freemasons' Lodge met in the same premises, and Burns became a Freemason in Lodge St David, Tarbolton, when he was 22. Later his lodge became dormant, and Burns joined Lodge St James, Tarbolton, Kilwinning, number 135, and there he was appointed Depute Master. And during 1785 he initiated his brother Gilbert into the craft as well. The farm they were on, however, didn't prosper, and Robert moved to Irvine to learn flax dressing. That's preparing the flax so it could be made into linen. He worked in Irvine for 7 months, and he became ill with pleurisy. His house in the High Street caught fire during Hogmanay celebrations, and Burns lost all his possessions. Shortly after that, his father's ill health forced him to return to Lochleigh, and his life changed dramatically when in 1784 William Burns died. Robert then inherited responsibility for the family. He moved to Mosgiel near Mauchline, and at this time the family changed their name to Burns. Here Robert met Jean Armour for the first time. Fate intervened again though when Robert became father for the first time to Elizabeth, born to maidservant Lizzie Peyton. While unlooked for, the birth so moved Robert that he added to his now considerable number of poems by writing, "Thou's welcome, Wayne, Miss Hunter for me. If thoughts of thee, or yet thy mammy, shall ever daunten me or awe me, my bonny lady. Or if I blush when thou shalt call me Tita or Daddy, welcome my bonny sweet wee doctor. Though ye come here a wee unsocht for, and though you're coming a hae focht for baith kirk and queer, yet by my faith you're no unfocht for. That I shall swear." Despite this happening, Robert's love for Jean Armour was so strong he couldn't keep away from her, and over the next few months that couldn't be denied, as Jean was obviously carrying his child as well. Now old Armour wasn't for the match. He burned the marriage lines Robert had written for them and sent Jean off to the Wells of Paisley, while threatening Burns with a writ of paternity. This was when Robert gave up his share of Mosgiel. He gave it up to his brother Gilbert, and he made his mind to head off to Jamaica and work on a plantation. During this time he met and married Helen Mary Campbell. Sadly, Helen Mary died before the couple could board ship, and luckily for us, his newly published works, poems chiefly in the Scottish dialect, was a success, and the plan was reversed. And eventually, after much thought, he still gave up the idea of farming, and he took up a post with the excise. After years of struggling with the stubborn soil and the harsh climate of Scotland, his ultimate achievement was that of the position of an exciseman, branding leather, gauging casks, testing the make of candles, and detecting illicit stills or smugglers. He had written immortal poetry, almost all his greatest works, before his 27th birthday. He defied the strain of unbroken toil, rain, snow and storm, insufficient food and shelter, to draw beauty from every circumstance of his lot, only to die at the age of 37. But that background picture doesn't give us the figure of a man Burns of immortal memory, merely the cloudy background of his portrait, which in our hearts shows the figure of a sturdy ploughman walking in glory and joy along the mountainside, turning every feature of the countryside into pictures of imperishable beauty, a vivid imagination, acute sensibility, and a heart, in spite of all his depression, overflowing with love for every living thing. He lived in the world as it was, seeking no relief from his suffering or discontent with his lot, and far off dreams of imagination and romance. His mind was too clear, too objective for that. He found all the poetry he needed in men, women, animals, and scenery that surrounded him every day. All objects to him were poetical or capable of poetic treatment. With the church, however, still the major power among the people in the day, he had serious problems. He couldn't for a moment put up with the sham of hypocrisy. He saw the actors and principals of the church as they really were. He entered into their thoughts and he spoke with their voice. And he painted portraits with such diabolical cleverness that we also see them as they really are, as in the closing lines of Holy Willie's prayer. But Lord, remember me and mine, with mercies temporal and divine, that I with grace and gear may shine, excelled by name, and all the glory shall be thine. Amen. Amen. Burns knows that God is love, mercy, wisdom and justice, that the heart's what matters, not tradition, power, superstition or ignorance. With his verses he can make us roar a drinking song. He can encourage us to chant a patriotic call to battle. There's nothing more solemn yet more rousing than Scots Wahey, and in the silver Tassie we can also see movement and hear the sound of the battle. The trumpets sound, the banners fly, the glittering spears are ranked in ray, the shouts of war are heard afar, the battle closes deep and bloody. Did he draw these talents from the wilds of Scotland? Was it these that inspired his love of fun and chorus? With all this passion and tenderness, however, he could also revel in farce and comedy. Is there anything more comical than Duncan Gray or Wally Wassell? He has an enthusiasm an impish sense of humour, vitality and joy and wit and laughter. We aren't fou, we're no that fou, we're just a drappy anourie. The cock may craw, the day may draw, but I will taste the barley brie. When he describes a mouse, a yow, an old mare, or even a daisy, a flower, he becomes one with it. And if any one of them could speak with the eloquence of Burns, what it would say would doubtless match what he says it for. Every lover of Burns could give us countless and other similar, just as excellent quotations. Burns said, "Even then I wish, I mind its power. I wish that to my latest hour shall strongly heave upon my breast, that I, for poor old Scotland's sake, some useful plan or book could make, or sing a song at least." That wish was formed when he was a young man. Well, he made his plan, he wrote his book, and he sang his immortal songs. He taught us the brotherhood and essential quality of man. He taught us charity, sincerity, and honest pride. He revelled in the happiness, beauty, and contentment that can be found in common things. What I think of Burns, from his history and what I've seen and read, I believe Robert Burns to be the most magnificent example in the world of the prodigality of genius. Freely he received that genius, and freely he gave of it. His songs were above and below price, for he would accept none. He distributed his songs with profusion. He was like the birds of the air. He carolled and sang for the joy of it, and he asked no other reward. He could have tried to play on his success and live a life in Edinburgh, avoiding the backbreaking work of the farm and the tribulations of working for the excise, all of which hastened his early death. But no, he was no taker, he was a giver. He gave some of the finest poetry and songs the world has ever heard, and despite all attempts to make him out to be a drunken wastrel, he was never that. So we shouldn't think when we remember Burns of his mortal failings. Let them wither away, like his earthly body, into dust and oblivion. Rather think of him in the glow of imagination, and the warm atmosphere we enjoy, when with the music of his songs and the poetry is about us. He was a bright, joyous soul who hovered in no far-off world of imagination. He breathed the air of the fields, the woods, and the hills. He was a sturdy ploughman who cast the straightest furrow. He was one who could associate with a peer or a commoner, neither cringing for the one nor flattering to the other. He had his crowded hours of glorious life. He rose high above all losses, crosses, and sorrows. He resisted the flattery of the great, the adulation of the lowly, and the persecution of the bigot. He stood forth in all his life a poor, honest, proud, independent man. He laughed away all cant and shame. He gave voice to every emotion that thrills his countrymen, and he awakened the spirit of joy and beauty in Scotland's rugged soul. So, as you drink to his immortal memory, think of him only as the joyous and triumphant bard of our country. I'd ask you to lift your glasses, join me.
Right, it's traditional at our club that we do a community song after the immortal memory of man's a man. So I'm going to sing it. Again, sadly, you'll have to mute, but feel free to join in at home. I'll not do it all. I'll just do 1, 3, and 5, and hopefully stir your spirits a wee bit after Willie's wonderful toasting. Is there for honest poverty that hangs his heat, and all that the coward slave we pass him by, we dare be poor for all that, for all that, and all that, our toils obscure, and all that, rank is but the guinea stamp, the man's the gold for all that. You see on Barky God the Lord was struts and stairs and all that, though unders worship at his word, he's but a coof for all that, for all that, and ribbon star and all that. The man o' independent mind, he looks and laughs at all that. Then let us pray that come it may, as come it will, for all that sense and worth, for all the earth shall bear the grief for all that, and all that, it's coming yet, for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be, for all that, and all that, it's coming yet, for all that man to man the world o'er shall brothers be, for all that.
Yes, well done, Kev, well done.
We shall begin. Death and Dr Hornbook. Some books are lies, the end to end, and some great lies were never penned. Even ministers, they hae been kent in holy rapture, aroused and whid at times to bend and knelt with scripture. But this that I am going to tell, which lately on a night befell, is just as true as the deals in hell or Dublin City, that ere he nearer comes or sell. It's a muckle pity. The clacking yell had made me canty. I was nae fou, but just had plenty. I staggered whiles, but yet took 10 tide to free the ditches, and hillocks, stains, and bushes, kent I, frae ghasts and witches. The rising moon began to glare, the distant Cumnock hills o' tower. To count her horns, wi' a' my power I set mysel', whether she had 3 or 4, I couldna tell. I was come round about the hill and toddling down on Willie's mill, setting my staff, wi' my skill to keep me sicker, though, leave it whiles, against my will, I ta'en a bicker. I there was something does forgather that pat me in a neary swither. A naughty scythe, who o'er issue the queer dangling hung, a 3-tailed lister on the other, lay large and lang. Its stature seemed Langscott's else twa, the queerest shape that e'er I saw, for fint the wame it had a vaughan in its shanks, they were as thin, as sharp, and small as cheeks of ranks. Gideon quae friend, he been mowing when other folks are busy sawing. It seemed to make a kind of storm, but nothing smack. At length says I, friend, where are you going? Will you go back? It spat right out. My name is Death, but be not flee. Why, good faith, you maybe come to start my bread, but tell me, Billy, I read you will, can't care a scathe. See, there's a gully. Yed man, quo he, bit up your whittle. I'm no designed to try its metal, but if I did, I would be kittled to be mislead. I wouldn't mind it no that spittle out of my beer. We will, says I, a man can be it. Come, kiss your horn and savour greet. We'll ease your shanks and dark a seat. Come kiss your news, this while ye hae been mony a gate and mony a hoose. Aye, quo he, and shook his head. It's in a lang, lang time indeed since I began to neck the thread and choke the breath. Folk man do something for their bread, and same on death. 6,000 years in near horn fled, since I was to the butching bread, and mony a scheming veins been laid to stop, or stormy, to lay in Hornbook's up the trade, and faith, they'll war me. You ken John Hornbook in a clacking, they'll mak his kingshood in a splocking, his grounds a wheel a quaint, with bucking and other chaps, the wains had out their fingers locking, and pout my hips. See, here's a sign, there's a dam, They hae pierced mony a gallant heart, but Dr Hornbook, wi' his art and cursed skill, has made them baith nae worth the fat. That hate they'll kill. 'Twas but yestreen, nae further gain, a through a noble through it in, less, I'm sure, of 100 slain, but deal my care. It just played dill on the bane, but did nae mere. Hornbook was by, were ready up, and had sae fortified the part that when I look at to my dart, it was sae blunt, fit head a wag he pierced the head. Look, he'll run. I drew my scythe for sick of fury, and here Horn cope it with my hurry. But yet the bold apothecary withstood the shock. I might as well he tried a quarry, o hard when rock. Even them he can't get attended, although their face he ne'er he kenned it. Just shite and a kill blade and send, as soon as he smells, with their disease, and what will mend it, ain't he tells. And then a doctor's saws and whittles, of all dimensions, shapes, and metals, all kinds of boxes, mugs, and bottles he's sure to hae, the Latin names as fast he rattles as ABC. Causes of fossils, earth and trees, true salmarinum o' the seas, a paranoid beans and peas he asked in plenty. Aquafont is what you please, he can content you. For by some new and common weapons, Uranus, spiritus, or capons, or might horn shavens, filings, scrapings, distilled per se, sal alkali amid steel clippings, and money me. Ways me for Johnny Gates all now. Why, if that nae news be true, his broad cardboard, where gowans grew say white and bonny, nae do the rhyme it with the blue, the ruin Johnny. The creature grained and the elders laughed and said, you needna yuck the row, keep your ears will soon be told enough, that ye nae fear. They'll all be trenched with mony a shock in 2 or 3 year, where I killed in. A fair stray death by loss of blood or want of breath. This night I'm free to tap my ace at Hornbook skill, as glad a score at their last claith by drapping pill. And on the swampster, these trade, was wife's twan hours where scarce will be got Tittensworth to mend the heed when it was sair. The wife's like canny to her bed, but ne'er spark mere. A country laird that ta'en the bats are some curmon in his guts. His only son, but Hornbook says, and plays him wheel, the lad for 12 give her pets was laird himself. A bonny lass, you ken her name, some old brown drinking off her wave. She trusts herself to hide the shame in Hornbook's gear. Horn sent her off to her land hame to hide it there. That's just a swatch of Hornbook's wife. Thus does he go from day to day, thus does he poison, kill, and slay and will by foot. Yet cheats me on my lot of prey with his damned dip. But I'll tell you of blood, though, then you be speaking of it, I'll nail that self-conceited sot as dead's a Helen. And he's staying with me. I'll water grow. He'll get his fame. But just as he began to tell, the old Kirkhammer struck the bell. So we shall do a yacht a twirl that raised us both. I ta'en the way that pleased myself and said it there. Thank you.
Don't have Helen lies. Oh, that I wear Helen lies. Next and day on me she cries. Oh, that I wear where Helen lies on fair Kirkconnell. Oh, Helen fair beyond compare, her ringlet, oh, my flowing hair, I'll wear it still forevermore, until the day I die. Cursed be the horn that shut the shut, and cursed the gun that made the crack into my ears, but Helen laughed and died forsake o me. Think ye nae but my heart was sair, my love fell in, and spark nae mair, there she did swim, wi' mickle care, on fair Kirkconnelly. I licht the dune and the sword the draw, and I caught at hand and pieces small. I cut it ham and pieces small on fair Kirkconnelly. O Helen chaste, but thou art modest. If I were with thee, I would bless where thou lies low and touch thy rest on fair Kirkconnelly. I wish my grave was growing green, where winding sheet could are mine, and oh, I wish that I wish that I were lying on fair Kirkconnelly. Oh, that I were, for Helen lies. Night and day on me she cries. Oh, that I were, for Helen lies on fair Kirkconnelly.
Well done, Henry.
My love, she's but a lassie, yet my love, she's but a lassie. You let her stand a year or twa, who'll be half sae saucy. I rue the day I sought her, oh, I rue the day I sought her, oh. Who gets her need nae say he's wood, but he may say he's bought her, oh. My love, she's but a lassie, my love, she's but a lassie, yet we'll let her stand a year or twa, she'll no be half sae saucy yet. Come draw a drap o' the best of ye, come draw a drap o' the best of ye, to seek for pleasure for you well, but here I never missed it yet. We're all dry with drinking oat. We're all dry with drinking oat. The minister kissed the fiddler's wife. He couldn't preach for the thinking oat. My love, she's but a lassie. My love, she's but a lassie. We'll let her stand a year or two. She'll no be half sae saucy.
A double act of Davies there.
And Michael.
Go on yourself, Michael. Has all Kilmarnock seen the deal? Or great McKinley thrawn his heel, or a Robertson again grand wheel to preach and read? No, more than all, cries Alcachiel, Tam Sampson's deed. Kilmarnock lang may grunt and grain, and sigh and sob, and Greeter Lane, and Cleader Bairns, man, wife, and wain, and mourn and weed to death. She's dearly paid again, Tam Sampson's deed. The brethren o' the mystic level may hang their heed and woe for bevel, while by their nose the tears will revel at ony bead. Neath's genealogian unca devil, Tam Sampson's deed. When winter muffles up his cloak and binds the mire like a roke, when to the lochs the curlers flock with gleesome speed, wobble his station at the cock. Tam Sampson's deed, he was the king o' the court, gaird or draw or wick a bore or up the rinklet Jehu roar in time of need, but now he lags on death's hog score. Tam Sampson's deed, now safe the stately Somont sail, and trouts bedropped with crimson hail, and eels weel kent for supple tail, and geds for greed. Since dark and death's fish creel, we wail Tam Sampson's deed. Rejoice, ye burren Patrick saw, ye cootie moorcocks, cruisely craw, ye mawkins, cock your fud foo bra withouten dreed. Your mortal fee is now awa Tam Sampson's deed, that woeful morn we ever mourned, saw him in shooting graith adorned, while pinters round, impatient, burned, for the couples freed, but och, he gaed, and ne'er returned. Tam Sampson's deed, o'er many a weary hag ye lump it, and aye the t'other shoty thump it, till coward death behind him jump it, with deadly feed, now he proclaims, with toot a trumpet, Tam Sampson's deed. Ilk hoary hunter mourned a brother, ilk sportsman youth bemoaned a father. Yon old grey stain among the heather marks out his head, where Burns has wrote in rhyme and blather, Tam Sampson's deed. When August winds the heather wave, and sportsmen wander beyond grave, 3 volleys let his memory crave of powder and lead, till echo answer frae her cave, Tam Sampson, deed. Heaven rest his soul, whate'er he be, the wish of mony maid and me. He had 12 thoughts, or maybe 3, yet what we mean. Aye, social, honest man, what we. Tam Sampson's deed. The epitaph. Tam Sampson's wheel-worn clay here lies. Ye canting zealots, spare him. If honest worth and heaven rise, you'll mend when you win near him. Per contra, go, fame, and canter like a filly through all the streets and nooks of Killie, tell every social honest billy to cease his grieving, for yet unscathed by death's glad gully, Tam Sampson's leaving!
Well done, sir.
Tommy, well done.
"'Twas in sweet Senegal, my foes took me in thrall, to the land of Virginia, torn from that lovely shore, and I'll never see it more. And alas, I am weary, oh, torn from that lovely shore, and I'll never see it more. And alas, I am weary, oh. On that charming coast, there's no bitter snow or frost, like the land of Virginia, Their streams forever flow, and their flowers forever blow. And alas, I am weary, oh, Their streams forever flow, and their flowers forever blow. And alas, I am weary, weary, oh. The burden I must bear, and the cruel scourge I fear, in the land of Virginia, Virginia, oh. I think on friends most dear, with a bitter, bitter tear. And alas, I am weary, weary, oh. I think on friends most dear, with a bitter, bitter tear. And alas, I am weary, weary, oh.
Gae, bring to me a pint of wine, and fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink before I go a service to my bonny lassie. The boat rocks at the pier o' Leith, fu' wind blaws for the ferry. The ship rides by the Berwick Law, and I mun leave my bonny Mary. Gae, bring to me a pint of wine, and fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink before I go a service to my bonny lassie. The trumpets sound, the banners fly, the glittering spears are ranked and ready. The shouts of war are heard afar, the battle closes deep and bloody. Gae, bring to me a pint of wine, and fill it in a silver tassie, that I should drink before I go a service to my bonny lassie. It's not the roar o' sea or shore would walk me wish to longer tarry, nor shouts of war that's heard afar. It's leaving thee, my bonny Mary. Gae, bring to me a pint of wine, and fill it in a silver tassie, that I may drink before I go a service to my bonny lassie. Thank you.
O thou, that in the heavens dost dwell, O as it pleases best thyself, sends into heaven and ten to hell. Oh, for thy glory, and no for any good or ill they've done afore thee. I bless and praise thy matchless might, when thousands thou hast ta'en a night, that I am here afore thy sight for gifts and grace. A burning and a shining light to all this place. And what was I, or my generation, that I should get sick exaltation? Aye, what deserved me is just damnation for broken laws. 5,000 years for my creation, through Adam's cause. When from my mother's womb I fell, the michter plunged me deep in hell, to gnash my gooms, and weep and wail in burning lake. Oh, damn the devils roar and yell, chained to a stake. Yet I'm here, O Lord, a chosen sample, to show thy grace is great and ample. I'm here, a pillar in thy temple, strong as a rock, a guide, a buckler, an example to all thy flock. But yet, O Lord, confess I must, at times I'm fashed, fleshy lust, and sometimes too in worldly trust, vile self gets in. But thou remembers we are dust, defiled in sin. O ye stream, thou kens, wi' Meg. O thy pardon I sincerely beg, and may it never be a living plague to my dishonour, and I'll ne'er lift a lawless like again upon her. Besides, I further maun avow, wi' Lizzie's lass. 3 times I trow, but Lord, that Friday I was fou when I come near her, or else thou kens thy servant true would ne'er speared her. Now, maybe thou let's this fleshy torn buffet thy servant e'en and morn, lest your high and proud should turn, 'cause it's a gift it. If say thy horn mun e'en be born until thou lift it. Lord, bless thy chosen in this place, for here thou hast a chosen race. But God, confound her stubborn face and blast her name, will bring thy elders to disgrace and public shame. Lord, mind gone Hamilton's deserts. He drinks and swears and plays at cares, and yet he has seen many talking ears with great and small. The God-saying priests of people's hearts, he steals a woe. And when we chasten them, therefore, thou kens how he bred sick a slow, and set the world in a roar, and laughing at us. Cursed thou his basket and his store, kale and potatoes. Oh, hear my earnest cry and prayer against stone presbytery, O ear. Thy strong right on, Lord, mak it bear upon their head, and visit them and dinna spare for their misdeeds. O Lord my God, that glib tongue aching, my very heart and soul are quaking, to think how I stood sweating, shaking, and pitched with dread, while he with singing head and snaking held up his head. Lord, in the day of vengeance triumph, Lord, visit him who did employ him, and pass not in thy mercies by them, nor hear their prayer, but for thy people's sake, destroy them and dinna spare. But Lord, remember me and mine, with mercies both temporal and divine, that I for gifts and grace may share, exhaled benin, and all the glory shall be thine. Amen. Amen.
And Bob, well done.
Brilliant, Bob.
Very good, very good.
Well done, Bob.
O Mary, at thy window be, it is the wish that Christ adore. Those smiles and glances let me see, that make the miser's treasure poor. How blithely would I bide the store, a weary slave frae sun to sun. Could I the rich reward secure, the lovely Mary Morrison? Yes, dream when to the trembling string, the dance gate through the lichted hall. To theme of fancy took its wing, I sat, but neither heard nor saw. Though this was fair and that was braw, and yon the toast o' the tune, I sighed and said among them all, ye arena Mary Morrison. O Mary, canst thou wreck his peace, what for thy sake would gladly die? Or canst thou break that heart o' his, was only thought was loving thee? If love for love thou wilt not gie, at least be pity to me shown. A thocht ungentle canna be, the thocht o' Mary Morrison.
Beautiful, Bill.
Done, Bill.
When Chapman Billies leave the street and drouthy neighbours meet, when market days are wearing late and folk begin to tack the gate, while we sit boozing at the nappy and getting foo and unca happy, we think na on the long Scots miles, the water, horses, water, slaps and stiles that lie atween us and our hame, where sits our sulky sullen dame, gathering her brews like a gathering storm, and nursing her wrath to keep it warm. Some of you might recognise her. This truth and honest Tam O Shanter, as he for airy nicht did canter, all day wham ne'er a tune surpasses, for honest men and bonny lassies. Oh, Tam, had thou's but been sae wise as ta'en thy old wife Kate's advice. She told thee well thou was a skellum, a bletherin', blusterin', drunken blellum, that frae November to October, a market day, thou wasna sober. That ilka melder with a miller, thou sat as long as thou had siller. That every naig was called a shoe on, the smith and thee got roaring foo on, and at the Lord's house even on Sunday, thou drank wi' Curtin Jean till Monday. She prophesied that late or soon thou would be found deep drowned in Doon, or catched wi' warlocks in the muck by Alloway's old haunted kirk. O gentle dams that gars me greet, to think how many counsel sweet, how many length and sage advises, the husband frae his wife despises. But to your tale. Market nicht, Tam had got planted uncorrect, fast by an ingle, bleezing finely, wi' reemin' swats that drank divinely. And at his elbow, Suitor Johnny, his ancient, trusty, drouthy crony, Tam looed him like a very brother. They had been foo for weeks together. The nicht drave on wi' sangs and clatter, and aye the ale was growing better. The landlady and Tam grew gracious, with favours secret, sweet and precious. The suitors told as queerest stories, the landlord's laugh, ha-ha, was ready chorus. The storm without might rear and rustle, Tam didna mind the storm a whistle. Care, mad to see a man sae happy, e'en drowned himsel among the nappy, as bees flew hame wi' lades of treasure, the minutes winged their way wi' pleasure. Kings may be blessed, but Tam was glorious, o'er all the ills o' life victorious. But pleasures are like poppy spread. You sees a flower, its bloom is shed, or like the snow falls in the river, a moment white, then melts forever, or like the borealis race that flit there you can point their place, or like the rainbow's lovely form, vanishing amid the storm. Nae man can tether time nor tide. The hour approaches, Tam mun ride. The hour o' night's black arch the keystane, the dreary hour Tam mounts his beast in, on sic a night he tacks the road in, as ne'er poor sinner was abroad in. The wind blew as 'twas blown its last, the rattling storms rose on the blast, the speedy gleams the darkness swallowed, loud, deep and lang the thunder bellowed. That nicht a child might understand, the deil had business on his hand. Wheel mounted on his grey mare Meg, a better never lifted leg, Tam skelpit on through dub and mire, despising wind and rain and fire, whilst hudding fast his gid blue bonnet, and sigbin o'er an old Scots sonnet, and glowering round with prudent cares, lest bogles catch him unawares. Kirkalloway was drawing nigh, where ghasts and hoolets nightly cry. By this time he was cross the ford, where in the snow the chapmen smoored, and past the birks and meikle banes, where drunken Charlie bracks next bane, and near the winds abune the cairn, where hunters found the murdered bairn, and knew the thorn abune the well, where Mungle's mother hanged herself. Before him Doon pours all his floods, the doubling storm rose through the woods, the lightning flashed frae pole to pole, near and more near, where thunder rolled when, glimmering through the groaning trees. Kirkalloway seemed in a bleeze. Through ilka bore the beams were glancing, and loud resounded mirth and dancing. Inspiring bold John Barleycorn, what danger thou does make us spawn. Wi' tippenny we fear nae evil, wi' Uskavay we'll face the devil. The swats he reamed in Tammy's noddle, fair play, he caredna deals a bodle. But Maggie stood, Rixair astonished, to by the heel and hand admonished. She ventured forward on the licht, and vow, Tam saw an unca sect. Warlocks and witches in a dance, nae cutty arm it new for fans, but hornpipes, jigs, straths, spaes and reels, put life and metal in their heels. A winnock bunker in east, there sat old Nick in shape of beast, a toozy tyke, black, Grim and large, to gie the music was his charge. He screwed the pipes and gat them skirl, till roof and rafters all did dirl. Coffins stood around like open presses that showed the dead in their last dresses, and by some devilish cantrip slicked each, and it's called handheld a licht. But which heroic Tam was able to note upon the Haley table, a murderer's banes and gibbet arms, twa span lang wi uncrustin' bairns. A thief new cutted frae a rape, with his last gasp his gab did gape. 5 tomahawks with blood red rusted, 5 scimitars with murder crusted, a garter which a babe had strangled, a knife a father's throat had mangled, wham his own son a life bereft. The grey hairs yet stuck to the heft, and more horrible and awfy, which even to name would be unlawful. As Tammy glowered, amazed and curious, the mirth and fun grew fast and furious. The piper loud and louder blew, the dancers quick and quicker flew. They reeled, they set, they crossed, they click it, to lilk a carl and swat and reek it, and coursed their duddies to the lark, and link it at it in her sark. Oh, Tam, had thou been queens all plump and strapping, and their teens are stark instead of creasy flinin, been snow-wheat 1700 linen. These breeks o' mine, my only pair, that aince were plush o' good blue hair, I would gain them off my hardies, for a blink o' the bonny birdies. But withered beldrums, old and droll, rigwoody hags would speen a foul, floupping and flinging on a crummock. I wonder did they turn thy stomach. But Tam ken what was what, fu brawly. There was a winsome wench and Wally that nicked and listed on the core, long after Kent on Carrick shore. For mony a beast to dead she shot and perished, mony's a bonny boat. She shook baith meek o' corn and bear, and held the countryside in fear. Her cutty stark o' paisley harn, that while a lassie she had worn, in longitude though sorely scanty, it was her best, and she was vanity. Oh, little kenned I reverend granny, the sack she caught for her wee nanny, with twapping Scots, 'twas all her riches, would ever grace a dance of witches. But here her muse my wing mun curse, sic flights are far beyond her power, to sing a nanny lap and flying, a supple jade she was and strang. How Tammy stood like ane bewitched, and thocht his very een enriched, een Satan glared and fidged fu fain, and hotched and poo wi' mitt and main, till first I caper, sign another Tam, tint his reason all together, and roars out, "Well done, cutty sack!" And in an instant, all is dark. Scarcely has he Maggie rallied, when out the hellish legion sallied. As bees was out with angry fight, when plundering herds assail their bike, as open pussy's mortal foes, when pop she starts before their nose, as eager runs the market crowd, when cats and thief resounds around. So Maggie runs, the witches follow, when mony and eldritch screech and hollow. O Tam, they'll get the fern, and hell they'll roast thee like a hern. In vain thy Kate awaits thy coming. Kate won't soon will be a woeful woman. Do thy speedy utmost, Meg, and win the keystone o' the brig, for at them there thy tail may toss, a running stream they daren't cross. But ere the keystone she could mak, the fiend a tail she had to shack, for Nanny far before her rest, hard upon noble Maggie pressed, and flew at Tam with furious ettle. And little was she Maggie's mettle, for a spring brocht off her master Hale, but left behind her ain grey tail. For the carlin clocked her by the rump, and left poor Maggie scarce a stump. Now all this tale of truth shall read, ilk man and mother's son tak heed. For if to drink ye are inclined, or cutty sacks run in your mind, you may buy the joys o'er dear. Remember, Tam O Shanter's mare.
Hey, well done.